But are you ready, Rob?
Yep.
10:30? All right, I'm putting it on.
I call the workshop to order.
That was only if we got done earlier. At
Oh,
6
if you got
o'clock.
done earlier.
Yep, at 6 o'clock.
So it's 6 o'clock and as a city council, right now, and I don't know if you read the statement that was it out in the Gage Avenue from intersection 2nd Street Northeast to the city limits. At this time, the city is not gonna ask to have that vacated. Due to the legal expense, could be between $5,000 and $6,000. Plus, Nick Peach withdrew his offer on that. So up until the other day, when we made that decision not to go forward with the process, we didn't have any offers on the table at that time. I understand that this time there are 2 offers on that, and that is scheduled for the EDA and not for the council meeting. So that'll follow the council meeting at a little after 7, correct? Am I stating that correctly?
Yeah, you
Okay.
said it correct.
So anyhow, then we'll take into account all the things that were presented after we publish this. Okay? Okay. Now I'm in the workshop, right?
Do you have one, do you need to close it?
Technically, I have to close the.
Do I
We're
need
in
to-
public hearing right now.
Did you open a public hearing?
I did not open the public hearing. I just made the announcement
That it's canceled?
that it's canceled.
Okay.
Okay, now open the workshop.
Not open because we're canceled completely.
Yep.
So you can open the workshop.
So now I will open the workshop.
Okay, so the first thing that's on the agenda for the workshop is the proposal from Nick Peach in regards to the community garden. And I'm putting this on the workshop to discuss the community garden in regards to it being moved to another location in town, which is a city-owned property. And that city-owned property right now has a raw water main running through it, and it will never be able to be developed. A house cannot be built there, and so this property would be a perfect location for the community garden to be moved to. This would allow us to look at Nick Peach's proposal to purchase the community garden currently property for future development.
Which will also be on the EDA meeting.
Yes, but I put it on the workshop to discuss the community garden. Questions, concerns? The reason for that is we did accept Kirschner to plant apple trees on the community garden, which will be included in the negotiations to have all the apple trees moved to the new property. So we can continue Kirschner's grant opportunity.
And I had the privilege to talk to Scott Kirchner yesterday and let him know what we're exploring. And he is not opposed to moving those apple trees over to the new location.
If you've already said this, I apologize, but we highlighted the fact that nothing can be built on that property because of what's underneath.
Due to a raw water main, a very large one that runs through it, and the actual well, one of the well houses is actually located right at the end of, and it's the shortest street in town, Long Avenue. So right at the end of Long Avenue is well house number 3, and that property just sits off to the east of it.
And the trees would have to be planted strategically so they don't sit over the top of the raw water main.
So for many years, we've sat on this property, never understanding why we couldn't do anything with it. And once people started asking to buy property from us, then we started investigating and we took our locator out and everything, and we did officially find the large water main. So that will also be highlighted on our GIS maps, so.
So my question, I guess, would be, one, is there anything stating that the community garden is a granted public area? I mean, is it something, it's never been designated as a park or anything? So is there anything stating that it has to be moved, for one? And then for two, are we gonna have to have a public hearing and public notification for everybody in that neighborhood, asking them for their input of relocating to that location?
The community garden, Andy, started as a extension project to get access to people who didn't have gardening space.
Sure.
And at that time, the city of Madelia had a couple of lots. And for the first couple of years, I tilled it for them. And then the city tilled it after that. And nothing was, to my knowledge, if I remember correctly, was ever put in writing.
Okay.
It was just something that was used, and the only thing we did have was the agreement with Caitlin Kirschner to plant the apple trees in that.
I guess what I was really asking is if there was any policy in previous years or anything that designated that particular land as a community garden, and then moving forward, if there was gonna have to be a public hearing or anything to dissolve that policy and move it or change it.
Just like any proposal or request at this point, at the EDA, you will be calling a public hearing for the next council meeting. So
But will you be sending out notices to everybody
in
within?
350, and actually technically, and I don't even know if it is 350, I'm just taking 350 based on variances and conditional use permits, because I don't think that by state statute it actually technically states an actual how big of a area. So I'll take the 350 feet and send out to all of those landowners that live around that.
Both locations,
Yep,
the relocation site and the,
okay.
well, I'm just asking, I guess.
No, I can.
Well, if you don't, it's up to you, I guess. I'm asking if it needs to be done, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I will send it out to both locations.
It looks like there'd be adequate parking, is that probably the case, or not really?
At the end of Long Avenue, there's, depending upon how much stuff Brian has parked up close to the road, or on the road, there should be adequate space. And most of the, or a lot of the people that use the community garden live in that 6 or 7 block area.
I was gonna say, I probably wouldn't be concerned about the parking. The only time that I have everybody basically there is when they come on that Saturday morning and flat it out. And I think I have 3 cars. Pretty much everybody walks over to it.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on the community garden?
Then we'll move on to the budget.
Okay. We'll start off with the pool budget tonight. Basically, all of the numbers on the pool budget, are staying the same except for the contract price. They asked for a $750 increase. Do you want one? I can give you one back. Sorry. So if you guys are in agreement to the budget, for the pool, then we can add on to tonight's agenda the 2023 pool contract, if you're in agreement of raising the $15,000 contract fee to $15,750 for Lake Crystal Rec Center to manage the pool.
And that includes lifeguard, safety training, correct?
Not in the 15,000, no.
Has there been any issues with them managing it so far?
No, actually, we had a very productive meeting the other day. James and I and Katie and Ryan from Lake Crystal Rec Center met. And we would like to already start, sooner than waiting until next spring, to implement the POS system at the pool. The POS system that goes with the online reservations for the campground and the POS system for the golf course. And so Katie has volunteered to come over and start learning that and getting that implemented. They also would like to discuss the rates and everything for the pool to maximize the revenue. So we will be getting together again to discuss that and bring that back to the table for you guys.
Did we have a total, number of,
Of people that came to the pool and
Yeah.
the dealers, yeah, we do, it's upstairs, I'm sorry. But all of it's been turned in and actually just filed everything. But as you can see, we haven't changed the rates. Did we change the rates? We took out the quarters. Didn't we increase it like by 50 cents so we didn't
Yeah.
have quarters? And so our daily gate sales, obviously, if you see, 2021 was $8,861, went up to 10,000. So 50-cent increase, but it also just with COVID, but it has been going up every single year, and I think last year was the only year we made an increase. Swimming lessons was sitting solid at $6,760. Concessions did very well, and back to what we had talked about in the meeting, we will be going over the price structure and getting everything onto the POS system, so then we can start doing reports on what actually sells there, but they did very, very well. $7,000 is pretty good on concessions. I am putting away the $10,000 a year for the capital outlay for what's gonna happen in the future. Questions, thoughts
What's the difference between the salaries and the hired outside labor? Who's the salaries for?
for the lifeguards, and the outside labor is Lake Crystal Rec Center's contract? We pay the lifeguards, but then we also pay Lake Crystal Rec Center to be the management, so they
Oh, okay.
oversee the lifeguards and make sure they're all trained.
Certified
And
and all that?
then we have, that manager is on site, making sure everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
So the manager, okay, the manager's not in salaries, it's in the contract.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
But like I said, the only change is they would want to increase that $750 for next year.
Is there any room, in the swimming pool area to, put that splash pad? If the splash pad committee wanted to, find a piece of property?
They could do something where the baby pool is. Take the baby pool out, because the baby pool has a lot of issues, mechanical issues, and so,
And change that to their splash pad, and because they're having problems now after their location at the church didn't work out, finding another location, and if they wanted to build something that are doable.
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
I would either look at that or where the basketball court is and move the basketball court down to one of the volleyball courts.
Oh, move the basketball court down and put the splash pad down at the bottom. Cause then you don't have hill up and down for the kids. But then kids don't care how far they run.
Jim, Andy, are you still on the splash pad committee?
We haven't had a meeting since April, have we, Andy?
Not recently, no. There's some things still hanging out there that we're trying to iron out. Some other possibilities we were looking at, but this was always the second alternative, or the second option that we were looking at.
I know they wanted it originally to be segregated from the pool area.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing was to try to get it, you know, just as a secondary option for younger kids,
Right.
especially with the kiddie pool having the issues it has. But I think everybody on that committee is still very open to all possibilities, so
Well,
I
if
guess I
you,
wouldn't rule it out. I don't think that we'll be ready to do anything,
anytime soon.
probably not.
Well, I know I'd be in favor of definitely exploring, something south of the pool.
Right.
You know, because the kiddie pool has been a maintenance issue, and there are concerns about the safety of the drop-off on the one end.
Yeah, it's something we were definitely considering.
Okay.
So right now, looking at the numbers, it would be a $3,350 increase to the pool budget line, hopefully increasing the revenues on the top though. So, let's see, looking at a projected $60,000 loss. And as you look back at the previous years, in 2021, we had a $46,000 loss. 2020, we had a $19,000 loss, and we didn't open that year. 19, we had a $44,000 loss, and 18, we had a $33,000 loss. So new budget would be a projected $60,000 loss with a $3,350 increase to the budget. Thoughts?
Provides a service.
Any thoughts on the contract? Can we add it as an additional agenda item?
I have no problem with that.
I agree with that.
Inflation rate.
Does that need to be a motion? No?
We'll add it in. I don't think I can take a motion during the, workshop.
Did your pool engineer give you a life expectancy of the pool in its current state?
Anecdotally, I was told 10 years.
About 10 years.
That was a couple years ago.
That was last year.
The issues with the sealants that get resolved.
In 10 years until it's beyond, doesn't matter how much we lose, we're not gonna save
We
it.
need to sue them.
Well, I need your help and then, along with Golden Links engineer. So, alright, the next one on the list is police. No, police is substantially higher due to the approval of the 5th officer. So we have to take that in consideration. So we're sitting over a hundred and some thousand additional because of that 5th officer.
Which we've had in the past, correct?
We've had it a long, quite a few years ago, and then took them off, and now we're bringing it back on.
Hopes of bringing them back on.
But with that increases the budget of $142,000. 142,000 is the total increase of all of the line items and the salary.
So that would change, to 681, 2479 for next year. Preliminary,
Where you got it?
bottom total expenditures.
So yeah, we're going from $538,926 to $681,024 for our expenditures. Still allocating, now, if everybody remembers, still allocating that 20,000 into the squad car line, and then an additional 11,000 for, the upgrade of the radios.
That's for those 3 radios or whatever.
2 radios a year
Oh, okay.
for the next couple of years.
So in the deficit in this year's, totals was pretty much the cost of, no, that was a decrease in revenues, wasn't it? Questions, concerns?
Is that liability insurance that went up $8,000?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous number that is pretty much impossible to estimate or budget for, because it's never what you think it is. So
Just how
it's
far off
notoriously
was
off.
I?
I think 4,000 or 5,000 this year.
Yeah.
And we would expect that's probably going to go up in cost too, along with the addition of an officer as well.
So I took that from 27,000 up to 35,000.
I think that's what we.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on average, we're at 25 and it jumped up to 31.
And it might still be too low. We just never really know until the year of. Hopefully it's too high.
Are you gonna hit your FURA numbers or not?
What was the question?
What was that?
Well, the PURA numbers seem, maybe it's not low. Right now you're under by 13,000. And next year, I suppose that was with the new officer, but next year you budgeted an additional 13,000.
I don't understand.
For PURA contribution?
Para.
Oh, para. Oh,
Para. Para is.
yeah, that'll increase
Para
also.
is in a formula.
How are you saying?
Para.
How do
Para.
you say para with an A? It's P-E-R-A, PURA.
Okay. Anyways, I got a formula on the side that actually
Based on salary or what?
based
Yeah.
on salary, because obviously the cops is different than the regular employees.
Does patrol car expense repair? Or repair and fuel or what?
No, gasoline is right on patrol
Oh,
car
yeah.
expense and then gasoline.
Yeah.
But
So
looking at the
just
gas, how
repair.
do you, is that right? you go from 1,000 to 12, pretty much 1,200 to 1,500, down to 300, and only $156 in June.
We had card issues.
Had a lot of
So
car
there's some
issues.
catch up?
Yep.
Okay.
But is there still more catch up to be done there, or what?
I might have to look at it.
Would think so.
I mean, you're in month 9, 10,
Yeah,
they've only spent half of their allocation.
for the gas.
Right.
But there's no way you only spent $300 on gas.
No, I think she's saying that she
Isn't
caught up
looking.
on some months from previous months because the billing was, charging was separate. Is that a contracted gas price, or is that?
No,
Mm-mm.
that's them going to the gas station and running our own card. We don't have a barrel that we contract with gas.
Yeah,
Correct.
but if you know your usage, you can't contract through Saks or somebody and prepay for an allotment?
We've
You're
never done it
proactive,
here, if that's something that you want us to look into.
I think that might make sense, I don't know.
Well, all the city vehicles are kind of in the same situation there. We've never contracted a price or anything like that.
You're saying use Cartrol and, contract a bulk number from.
Right, if you can, I mean, I guess I don't know.
I don't
what
know if
the
they
policy
do
is
that
now.
anymore or not.
No idea.
They make the county buy it by, well, you guys got big barrels.
Big barrels, I know they
Yeah.
looked in contracting, and a lot of people didn't want to do it because of the volatility of the
Mark,
market. And we asked about it, but I don't believe the county's doing it.
right, you just fill your barrels up for your diesel and your, non-road, tax stuff.
Yeah, but there's still mistakes. The highway department was only billing, TMT like about 40 a gallon for the last year or something, before somebody finally caught it, so that's what TMT looked profitable.
Yeah, if I could get that. Our fuel for $1.40. Any more concerns on the, police, budget?
Just for point of reference, if the 5th officer isn't hired, are we talking basically the same budget then, or
Well,
did we have a number
Well, I
without?
would still go with that. 11,000.
I guess we're budgeting with the expectation that we'll be hiring a 5th officer. It's hard to, I guess we have to set the budget now and assume we're gonna be working towards that goal of having that position.
Sure.
The fact of the matter, if you're not hired, the salary doesn't go to them, the para doesn't go towards them.
Correct.
But you still buy the kit.
Ready to move on to the next one?
okay, next one is fire.
So did I get one of them?
No, sorry, pass them back.
So.
Actually, this one went down. So this one went down $4,758.
And what was, well, there's 1,050 in miscellaneous.
And that had to do with the capital outlay reserve. I had to do a catch-up because the transfer that was done the year before, but that isn't $4,000, that's only $2,000. So
Capital reserves got quotations around it.
So that just decreased, so it's about the same. So the fire didn't really change.
Is their liability insurance gonna be a little short? Currently at 8628, $9,000 budgeted. 9,000 next year. Is that a monthly or is that an annual?
It's
insurance?
annual.
So that is the final cost?
League pick up the liability for the fire department too? Chris, can we get our insurance from the league for liability for the fire?
What's that? What's the mini gas pump thing for?
Gas, utilities that comes in to the fire department.
This building, is that gonna go away?
It could possibly, but we don't know what it's actually gonna be allocated when we go over there. I'm leaving a lot of it alone
Okay.
until we get there.
There's no way to get estimates on that, no.
Not when you add that big of a building onto it. So I could get the estimates what they ran, you know, but that's half the size of what we have. And how efficient is the new building? You can't really project that.
What's the safety building line item?
The safety building is what we're moving into.
Oh,
It's basically the capital, so
that's capital outlay.
So I allocated
secondary.
10,000 in regards to them, if they needed something, but we haven't used it.
Okay.
Cause don't you remember, I don't know, I think that's what they called the building that other time down by the triangle when they were trying to build it down there? I think it was called the safety building,
Yes, it was.
you know?
So, I guess it's,
And we're buying the fire truck comes this year or is it next year?
I think it's
Next.
2 more years?
Like,
Or we order it next year?
We order it next year.
But
It takes a year to build.
Yeah.
We order it in summer of 2023, right?
So that's what your 33,750 or your 35,250, that's what that is being allocated to. You're on a payment projection for X amount of years for your share, and so is all the townships.
Is the city of LaSalle shown as a deficit? Or did they pay this year? No.
That's more on the ambulance.
Oh, that's more on the ambulance
Yeah,
side?
that's on the ambulance, they have their own fire department.
They have their own fire trucks.
Any other questions on fire?
We do have to approve preliminary
That'll be at next meeting.
next meeting.
Park. I'm probably being a little modest in regards to the camping fees. As you can see, 2019, 2020, 2021, we've been only going up on camping fees. I mean, 21, we brought in 52,000. Right now, we're at about 44,000. I did project 65,000, but I have a feeling we'll blow that out of the park with what we got. So I was a little modest with the revenue coming in. Not looking at anything changing.
And summer rec stays about the same?
Yeah,
Is that a separate line item?
Summer rec. Yep, so we have summer rec fees. So they came in about $736. Hopefully we can, get that a little bit more bigger. But our expenses basically wash what we bring into revenue. So it was 700 to 700.
And, the other thing that isn't in our budget is the new shelter that should go up yet this month, correct?
Actually, that's not in the park, it's more
Oh,
the
that's in the golf course?
Yep,
Are you gonna put rentals towards the park, or is it all gonna go towards the golf course?
I was leaving it under the golf course.
Okay.
And the reason for that, Andy, was more for the staff that was going to be running the golf, or running that other new building, is more the golf course staff, so.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, since it's gonna be a mixed use building, but maybe it makes more sense, either way. For instance, if somebody rented it and just wanted picnic tables in it, no staff, but they didn't wanna rent the tan shelter, still gonna, but I think there's gonna be a different
Fee schedule.
fee schedule and contracts for that,
Yep,
so will they be filled out separately or not? I mean, will the revenue go to separate spots or not?
that's why I was saying they would be going to golf versus park, so on the park, you have the park shelter fees, that's your tan shelter and your, stone shelter.
Right.
And then on your golf line item, you have the golf shelter fee, which is actually the golf course right now, but we could actually allocate another line that could show what you actually profited in fees, but I wouldn't mix them. But back to the, you know, if they don't want staff there and they just want picnic tables, that's fine, I mean, but I still think we have to have somebody overseeing it.
Sure.
You still have to have somebody to pick up the garbage, because if they have picnic tables, they're gonna generate garbage.
Yeah. Any questions on this budget? We're looking at about maybe a $9,000 increase on the park.
That 6,400 in June is mostly because of the cameras on the building maintenance.
Yeah, that was the camera system on the comfort station, which has proved to be very valuable.
Useful already.
Yep, it's been used. Yep.
And so far, nobody's vandalized it this year, so.
Oh, no, they did, that's why
Well,
they came in
that's-
handy.
Right, but it haven't.
The camera
Same.
came in handy.
And the vandals already paid the money back, so.
The vandals, and not like the last one, it took a little
Yeah,
longer.
we're correct.
It took 6 months to.
Again, keeping the 20,000 capital outlay to be put away for future project in the park. Thoughts, concerns, questions?
That one looks like a long one.
Next one is golf. We were projected to do an $85,000 loss, and right now we sit at a $5,229 profit, or $5,229,000. Did I say it right? I can't
No,
say
you're
it.
not, you're not.
$5,229 profit, so, got it.
Does that have the booster club on there?
No, the billing hasn't gone out yet.
So that number will get better, and
We
then.
just have the two, is there just the two tournaments left? Or the one,
We
sorry.
have 20
Booster and
downs,
20
and then we
downs.
have the club tournament the
Oh,
next
okay.
weekend.
And then if that shelter gets done yet this fall, then there'll be revenues off that before the end of the year.
We also have some private stuff going on during the weeks too, coming up.
Is this the right time to talk about that contract?
So the one thing we'll out of drought, at least we get something that makes money.
For, Carl.
Yeah.
We
In
could.
a flood, we
I
don't,
mean, we could talk about
do
that.
so
Yeah.
well.
The one thing that maybe we should discuss maybe is if we wanted an increase in any of the contracted salaries. As for like, the greenskeeper salary,
I think that's, when does final budget finalization happen?
December,
December, we just need to do the preliminary.
It's the
There's-
second meeting or first meeting?
first meeting.
So we're gonna set the preliminary next meeting.
Right,
So if you wanna go higher, you can't go lower, remember?
right, but what I'm thinking is we should have that whole request for proposal by budget finalization too. So, I guess I wouldn't wanna go much higher.
Do you want to then approve tonight on the agenda for me to go ahead and advertise for that?
Sure.
And that's
What's that
for the
currently
greenskeeper
Yeah,
Yeah.
with
Which one- which one is
the, and you guys,
that would be the contracted salaries.
and you guys ironed out the, job description?
Pretty sure, yeah.
We went through it at the beginning, didn't we, Andy?
Yeah, it's pretty well ironed out. I think we'll be able to come up with an RFP for sure.
Yeah.
Wasn't that we discussed
Okay.
that?
And that'll make it number 7, correct?
Yep.
I forgot what 6 was, what was 6?
6 is, the school contract for Lake Crystal Rec Center for 2023.
So each of these budgetary sectors has a separate liability insurance or what?
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
not a blanket policy, or there is a blanket policy also?
It's a blanket policy, but everything is itemized within it. So
It's all divided out.
Yeah,
Our liability policy for the city cost us $100 and some $1,000 last year, I believe.
So was this annual as well?
off the top of my head. What was that?
Was this an annual payment?
Yes.
Yeah.
The irrigation maintenance number, is that a holdover?
No, that's what was projected last year. But with.
That was after the replacement of all that irrigation? We're still projecting a $5,000 maintenance?
That's what we decided on last year. We can lower this for this year.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd have to have a discussion about that. I guess it doesn't matter, but.
Well, it does, because
but
we
then
need a
look at-
projected, amount to see, so I would probably lower it. If we are on everything that was installed, if that is, I'd drop it down to 1,000, if I know that's feels.
Yeah, but then you look at like handicaps, that's 300 more than you had. Building maintenance was another 1,100.
I think you leave it alone.
I would, well, you've got other line items that you spent more on than what you had allocated. You know, gas and diesel, you spent 7,300 more than you had 7,000.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that some of that should be reallocated.
It's a different line item in the Gulf.
It's not reallocated every year, we go by the bottom line, Andy.
No, what I'm saying is your line items are maybe not reflecting currently, but maybe it doesn't matter. know what I'm saying? So,
But if you look at some of the,
so you have irrigation at $5,000, so it's a pretty new irrigation system. And we haven't spent more than $1,200 in the last 2 years on it.
so
Well,
that's
we-
why I'm saying I can drop that down to 1,000.
Right, and maybe reallocate some of that expenditure to building maintenance.
But what then Cody is saying is that I went over on my gas line, so what you're
It
saying
doesn't
is
matter.
I
mean,
should really drop down the irrigation down to 1,000 and then
Right,
increase
increase your
the
gas
gas
budget.
to 8,000 or
Maybe,
9,000.
yes. Unless you're saying it
I
doesn't
mean, the
matter.
money's not going away.
No, that's
Putting it
why I'm
somewhere
saying
else,
the
but-
bottom line is, you
Yeah.
know, I really watch where I sit on, you know, granted, I watch every line item, but my bottom line is really where I'm concerned about.
Is the LP so much higher just because we use it more this?
No, because it's
The
up higher,
price.
What?
The price.
the price.
$1,500?
Yeah.
$1,600?
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna go up,
Well,
more than that.
Oh, no, it went up that much.
Yeah. Depending on what you feel.
And we haven't completed the season yet, you guys are looking at 2 dates, so like,
Yeah.
this check run that Heather just did is not allocated in the 2 dates, so I'm,
Any other concerns on the golf? Bottom line looks excellent though. Golf commission and the weather and the, bookkeeper's gotta give him an attaboy.
That's what
we've never seen these numbers ever since 2014 for my spreadsheet.
Tell me that.
So is that the last budget for tonight?
That's all the funds that we are discussing
Call
tonight,
in a golf course and buy.
unless anybody wants to go into more detail on any of them.
Anybody else got any,
Pay the lawyer next year.
concerns?
How much you gonna pay the lawyer next year?
Oh, is that what you're gonna talk about? That's in the general area.
No, I'm just kidding.
So the next thing on the, list is staffing for 2023.
Alright, so in the golf commission meeting, we discussed possibly hiring another full-time individual. But I'm bringing it to the council tonight, to discuss if, a full-time park and rec person is what we would like, or if we would like somebody maybe to handle other things within the city, or do we want another full-time person? Help me out, somebody?
What would the other things be?
I would rather have somebody in charge of, somebody right below you that can deal with all the employees, park, recreation.
Marketing.
Somebody between Chris and the employees, so that she's not getting phone calls on little stuff every single day.
Somebody that
Taking up
takes
time.
over the, shit, I wanna say.
Kinda like an HR person.
Yeah,
is what it sounds like.
essentially.
I don't even know if it'd have to be HR, it could just be.
Well, I don't know what the exact title would be.
One of the things we kinda kicked around is maybe changing some job titles, making a chief financial officer role, and then still having an assistant city manager.
Yeah, but
Something like that.
somebody that everybody knows that if you need something, have an issue with something, anything.
More of the day-to-day.
Yes,
Part of the issue is gonna still be, there's just getting to be a lot, and I don't think it's gonna get to be less, you know what I mean?
no,
And that's why we kinda talked about it, I think it's, you know, it's gonna be to the point where it's gonna be a necessity no matter what. But I don't know how to phrase that and what's gonna get us the best applicants moving forward as far as from personnel standpoint. If you look for somebody and call it a park and rec manager, are you just gonna get a bunch of park and rec people? Is that what you want, park and rec people? The answer to that question is maybe not.
There is college for that, though, so they're well educated.
Yes, there is. I know a couple of park and rec majors that are real fun to be around, but.
So if we didn't do that, what are you envisioning?
I'm envisioning like a little bit of a change of roles, like a CFO, somebody that handles all the, kind of like we talked with the auditor. Another partition of division of labor and responsibility where there's a CFO person handling all the accounting side, and then there's like an assistant city manager handling all the day-to-day management stuff.
The only concern I have with that, well, a couple of them, but the biggest one is, take the street department. We don't need somebody between Ben and the city administrator. I would argue. Do we need someone between Wade and the city administrator? No, but we need somebody between the park and the golf course and the city administrator, based on the problem we've had.
Right. But I'm not saying that it would be, but it would have to be that.
Knowing that, Chris, how often do you have time to go up and check on the street guys, or go check on the wastewater or the water?
Not very often. I mean, I basically am out on site if there's a major issue, but I'm not up rotating to check on them.
Just to see what they're doing, we hear all the time about our equipment and shit, well, we don't know, we just, we have no clue what's going on.
We kind of talked about something similar, I mean, maybe not exactly similar, but something kind of similar in a public utilities director or somebody in the utilities director role, more out and about. The other thing that is gonna become an issue, and it's not maybe an issue right now, but it will become an issue, is building code and all these other things, when it's, if I'm Chris, I guess I don't wanna be putting on a vest and a hard hat and going and measuring lots. I'd rather have somebody else be doing that for me. And saying this meets zoning compliance or that type of thing. I think this is kind of what we're looking at, is somebody to kind of eat up a bunch of these day-to-day things and still oversee everything. But yes, park and rec and camping and pool and golf course is gonna be a major component of that, especially all summer long.
So, whatever it is, in the next council meeting or the workshop, we will go over the general fund portion of this, and so you guys will have to then decide if we will be allocating, that salary in the general fund.
Okay. So we got a little time to think about roles and responsibilities.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I'll need direction in regards to how to write the job description and stuff like that. Because again, there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of things that are needed, but what is priority and what's our focus?
Yeah, I guess I agree with that. And the only thing, Cody, I get what you're saying as far as visiting the street department to see what they're doing, visiting the water and wastewater to see what they're doing. But lately, at least to me, it seems like every time I've gone looking for her, she's down at the park or dealing with the golf course. And that, that's eating a lot of clock.
It is right now, and I think everybody.
Is that kind of a one-off?
But we also have, we're gonna continually have projects with water and wastewater that, that we need to be overseeing too.
And my time right now is because of circumstances. I mean, by the time I hire somebody, we're gonna be closed for the season. I'm just gonna keep on going through this month and get us through, and then we'll have to hire, another manager and get that going.
But there are things that are gonna be evolving responsibilities. Tension fabric building as an event space, 28 more seasonal campsites that are gonna need seasonal maintenance. Those people are gonna be expecting a little more maintenance than just the grass mowed, I would assume, if something goes wrong, somebody's gonna have to be on site to, I mean, that's more of a actual landlord situation and less of a day rental situation, so.
Well, and I get your point about not wanting the city administrator out measuring lot lines and that kind of stuff.
Right,
too, so.
Right,
Okay.
so, yeah, there's just, I don't know what the perfect, there's probably not a perfect solution. Perfect solution is you have enough money to buy, pay people to do tasks.
All
that
the jobs.
qualify for it.
But we don't.
We don't, so we're gonna try to find another Swiss Army knife to throw at the other Swiss Army knives we have and hope they start covering them all,
Yeah, I'm
so.
tracking. Okay, thanks.
And still be cost effective to the taxpayers.
So something to think about.
Okay, anything else for the workshop? And then I'd entertain a motion to close the workshop.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.